Well, now, here we are again, all of us, 12 months older, 12 months wiser, and quite likely 12 months wider. And as we gather around our Christmas trees this year for what we hope will be a wonderful festive season, the world has, of course, moved on, and not necessarily in a good way for us all. But I hope that you and your family, this has been a great year of gaming, and that you found time to enjoy this wonderful hobby that we all share, and to spend time with the wonderful friends that it gives us. Okay, so the time now comes for me to open what will be my first door on the TooFatLardies Advent Calendar for 2024. So let's see what we've got. Very, very nicely decorated. Open this up. I think Sid must have wrapped this. Hello, Nick, it says. Hello, Nick. Canter or gallop? ? How do you influence the pace or tempo of a game? Is this something the rules should create, or something for the game organizer? Okay. Isn't it interesting? My first place my mind goes to on this is not so much about tempo, but about time. Isn't it interesting that games, some games take an encounter or a battle and create that around condensing a historical event into a much shorter time period. So, for instance, we might want to play Napoleon's 100 Days campaign and do it in the space of 3 hours, which obviously means reducing the timescale to a series of key events that cover the period. So hence you could refight the Battle of the Bulge in an evening. And at the other end of the scale, our games take what might be just a fleeting moment of action, an intense period of excitement, and stretch that out to cover the same gaming time. So I think most of us enjoy games that last between 1 hour to 3 hours long, maybe, depends on where we are at the time and who we're with. And sometimes we enjoy games that last a lot longer, but whatever scale of time we settle on, we settle on whatever time scale allows us to explore the most interesting parts of that game. So sometimes that involves accelerating the timeline, and sometimes it involves slowing it down. So, for instance, one kind of game where we might take a very fleeting action and extend the time period would be an airplane dogfight or a Wild West gunfight, something which may only take a few seconds in real life, but we slow it down in kind of stop frame motion, like the old Doug McClure films of Voyage to the Centre of the Earth or whatever. And we take that small moment, but we make it last our full game. Gladiator games, dueling games, they all tend to be games where we do that. And as we strip away each part of that fight in detail, we get a really close-up view of what's going on. So we take this really exciting moment, and we can, if we're not careful, turn it into a fairly bland sequence of events that somehow lose the excitement. So the games have to somehow keep that excitement. So I guess that in terms of tempo, and I know that I've been talking about timescale, but tempo of the game is an important thing, because we can lose tempo. We can put lots of things in to block a positive tempo. I think if tempo is about the experience of the game, it feels like that to me anyway. And I guess my view is that games are a bit like a film or a TV series. You know, they start with the outline, they have key protagonists who come to the stage and move around each other in a kind of preamble. And then as we build towards some kind of exciting climax, the story will take on a different tempo from as it moves through. Sometimes it will speed up and sometimes it will slow down before we reach what is a likely final crescendo. And I think games do that. I think good games, normally include a period where the protagonists size each other up. So this may be a patrol phase or a deployment phase or a manoeuvre to contact phase. Then we get the initial probings maybe of the first contacts, skirmishes maybe going into action against each other. And normally these will build up, followed and ultimately followed by the climactic final charge, where the centre of the enemy's position finally collapses, or where their force morale eventually drops to the point where there can be no return. And tempo can follow these events like a barometer of excitement. We have the exciting near misses of close combat. We have the excitement of cavalry charges. And these are areas of intense player involvement as well, where we're rolling dice, we're bringing chance to the fore, and we're taking that kind of will they, won't they, it's a risky situation, what will happen kind of view. So this all creates tempo. And we're ferociously rolling dice, feverishly attempting to get whatever is required to achieve the outcome we need. And that can really have moments of excitement. And we've all heard and played in games where that cinematic, heroic moment occurs, when everybody laughs and everybody around the table, lets out a squeal of excitement or approval or amusement or dismay, whatever, some kind of emotional outburst as something wonderful or terrible happens. And you can build that tempo into the game through game mechanisms, but it is hugely reliant on the players themselves, who are, after all, the people that bring the game to life. So what can add tempo to a game? Well, I think the way that it's played, the way that the game is put together, those moments, highlighting those moments where you can bring that action, that anxiety of action, that fingernail biting moment where they're identified and they come to the fore through your dice roll outcome. But the other things that bring game to life are, familiarity of an existing, sense of connection with the other player, for instance, familiarity with the rules, familiarity with your opponent, a sense of connection between you all, the smooth mechanisms, a fun narrative, massively important. They all speed things up. Things that slow the tempo down are, I guess, kind of the opposite of that. A lack of familiarity with the rules, a lack of familiarity with your gaming opponent, a lack of narrative, or perhaps a poorly designed or poorly researched scenario. And do these things matter? Well, yes, they do. I think they do. I think tempo is essential in an enjoyable game. And that games that lack tempo potentially lack engagement. They don't fulfill their possibilities. Players leave frustrated instead of satisfied. So the tempo we build into our games, certainly our philosophy at TooFatLardies, is that tempo is a key part of the way the game unfolds. And you only learn those things through design, and I guess through feedback from play testing and from watching other people play the games. So I hope that the games that you play have the tempo that you want them to have, and that the games you play continue to give you enjoyment and fun throughout the festive period and beyond.